Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Zoe and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to do my January ranking, which means I'm going to rank all the palettes I used in the month of January. I mainly used the palettes that were in my chopping block pile, and for the month of January I used 20 palettes. I used a bit more, but I ranked I ranked 3 palettes as like a category because I used them together. I'll tell you all about it a little bit into the video, but let's get going. I'm ranking everything from the worst palette that I used up until the best palette or palettes that I used. And these are all palettes that have been in my collection for some time, some longer than others, but it's mainly makeup that, you might already have or have seen. So that's what we're gonna do today. I hope you guys like this style of video. I kind of want to try and do it every month, but we'll see how that goes. If you're wondering what I'm wearing right now, I'm wearing the Zoë and I Hella palette, the Angelica collab, the first one, and it has been on for almost 12 hours and it's still looking really good, so I'm happy. But let's start at number 20 for the month of January, and that goes to the Catrice, the Soft Peony eyeshadow palette. None of the palettes that are in here are bad necessarily, but I have my reasons why they're ranking lower than others. This is a very pretty palette. If you like pink and black silver combo, this could totally be for you. The reason that I can't rank it higher is basically because I do like pink, but I don't know what to do with the black, dark gray, and silver shades because I have no mattes for that in this palette. Also, I have 2 matte pinks, but none of them that are really dark. And then we have some shimmers. I can make a look with this palette that I like, but I can make looks with all the other palettes that I like even more and that take me less effort. So I had to rank this in the 20th spot. If you like this color story and you don't mind not having darker mattes, this could totally be for you. It's just not for me. Then we have the Natasha Denona Mini Zendo palette, and I never expected myself to rank a Natasha Denona palette this low. However, I used the 2 orange shades and then this one, and this as a liner. I skipped over the silver one the last time, and I was just kind of underwhelmed. It was a good look, but I can make this with like a lot of different palettes, and I know there are a lot of people that would really like to buy this or get this for me that would use it almost every day, and I definitely don't. I don't even get excited when I use it. Like, it looked pretty. I was like, oh, that's nice, but I have other palettes that are more than nice. And then we have the ColourPop on the Mangoes. I really like this color story. However, you only have a light shimmer, and so I had to mix the matte with the shimmer to get like a gradient on my eye, because that's the way I like to do my makeup. And it was nothing like out of this world, so that's why I can't rank it higher, because I have other things I like better. This one, this is the Douglas Let the Sunrise palette. This is kind of an odd one maybe to place here, but I got this for my sister once, and I used to really like it, but as you can see, the 2 mattes are very, very light, and then you have 2 shimmers. However, I'm gonna try and sell this or give this away, and if nobody wants it, I am gonna take this shade out and then declutter the rest, because this shade, it is so like I don't even know how to describe it, but it looks very reflective on the eyes and almost wet looking. So I would actually, if nobody wants to buy it as a whole, I will break it apart, which I never do, but it just feels right with this one. And then at place, I think, is this, oh wait, 2019. in 16th place, I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cosmos palette, and I didn't expect it to rank this low, but I was like putting everything in different spots and moving them around, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't rank this higher. I like Anastasia Beverly Hills a lot, but with this palette, what they tried to do was making like duochromes and multichromes. And first of all, I have indie brands, and so I don't need a high-end brand to do their version of a multichrome. And also, what like I would have liked this palette if I would have had some more cooler tone mattes. So we have this beautiful, more like cool tone matte, even though this also has like a warm undertone to it. But I don't have like, this is sort of a mid-tone, neutral kind of shade. But all of these mattes have a certain warmth to them. And I like a lot of these multichrome shades with a more cool undertone. Is this a super cool palette if you don't have many multichromes? For sure, it's very nice, it's very beautiful, quality is great. It's just you need to like warm or neutral tone mattes that are just like basic shades, and that's just not very much my cup of tea, and that's why I had to rank this below other things. Like the Malibu Barbie, although I do have to say these could have been switched around for the simple reason that if I look at this palette, I get all the feels. I'm so happy to see it. I'm like getting enthusiastic and happy to use it. And then I use it and it's fine. It pulls very warm. It's okay, but like I never think like, oh, I should reach for this. Neither do I ever do backflips over the look I create with it. And always like, it's actually most of the time when I use it, I'm like, oh, okay, oh, okay. So because of that, not my favorite. A palette that is not my favorite anymore for a different reason is the Glamlight Street Taco. The shimmers in this are very beautiful. The mattes have had better days. This is an old palette. I just think it has had its best time, and it's no longer the great beautiful formula. Shimmers are still beautiful, but I do have to say I always had like kind of like trouble creating looks with this palette. Remember the first time trying to use this, I literally looked up Instagram looks with this palette, and later I could actually use it on my own, but like I just don't see myself reaching for this, and every time I do reach for it, I'm like happy with the shimmers and not necessarily with the mattes. So having so many palettes in my collection, I don't really see myself reaching for that. So that was a 15, 14. I think this is number 13. I'm sorry, I was like, ugh. Number 13 is the Menagerie Serenity palette. I like this. It's very beautiful. Like the shades in this are gorgeous. There's nothing too crazy special about them, but I do like a good like true metallic with like a flip in there, and that's what this is. The only reason why this isn't higher is basically because I think the color story is slightly chaotic, and I know that's like the whole deal of this palette. I just really have to think every time I use this, and I only ever go into this palette for this periwinkle shade, and then I will use the rest. But I'm just kind of like doubting, will I ever reach for this? And I know when I reach for it and I like come up with a good color story, it looks gorgeous, very beautiful palette. It just takes me a few steps to get there. First step being reaching for this palette, second step being making up like a good color story. So that's kind of where it gets tricky for me and why it didn't rank higher. And then we have the Looney Tunes I Heart Revolution. This palette is half super good and half what is this? So I love the mattes in this palette. I don't know why. Are they the most pigmented? No. Are they Like, do they blend into nothing if you like blend too much? Definitely, but I can for some reason make them work. And then this like putty shades, like a sort of like a diamond bomb-ish shade, and I like them a lot. And I like the looks I make with this a lot. But then this shimmer quad quad right here, it does absolutely nothing for me. It does absolutely nothing for the color story because all the shades, in my opinion, are like a true mismatch. So I'm gonna do the same as with like that little Douglas palette. I'm gonna try and give this away slash sell this like in a package. And if it doesn't get sold, I will take out the mattes and the glitter bomb shade, and I'll throw away the rest because I just like those four shades actually stop me from using this entire palette, which is a waste. And then we have a very big one, which is the Profusion Adventurous palette. Okay, I'm gonna first tell you all the cons and then tell you the good stuff. So this is very cheap packaging. I'm just like, sorry, but Profusion, I understand that they're like affordable because they have like cheap packaging. But the pigmentation is right. The shimmers are very beautiful. There's this one like putty-ish shade in here. They have kind of different formulas, but not in a way that I'm like, ugh, what is this? So I really enjoy this. I used this on New Year's Eve, made more like of a green and smoky look. And then on New Year's Day, I did like these two shades and like some neutrals. I like this. Every time I use it, I'm kind of like happily surprised by how this works. I don't know if I'm gonna reach for it all that much for the rest of the year, but I am gonna try to because it's a good palette. It's a good palette, and if you like want, like, if you're like on a budget, I think these would make you very happy because they're just good. They're not like amazing, but they're good. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the number 10 and 9th spot like together because they're kind of like together. But this one is in number 10, like in the 10th spot, which is the Up to Snow Good by NYX. I think I've put these two in the chopping block pile literally every time I did a declutter since I got these. Even the declutters that I didn't film and just did for my own like little situation. But every time I use them, I'm like, these are really great. So I don't know what my deal is with these two, but I do really enjoy them. Every time I use them, I'm like happily surprised. Honestly, I used this when I was like, that looks powdery. And then I looked in the mirror like 5 minutes later and it looks wonderful. So I think I was just looking at the look too close to a mirror. But yeah, love the look I created with this. I think they're like slightly bulky, but I do like that you have just a complete look in this palette. You can like do a different thing, but I will always create the same look with all 6 of the shades, and I'm happy with that. Only complaint is these two shades tend to look kind of similar, although this has a more brown undertone and this has a more purple undertone, but for my skin tone, I maybe would have preferred one to be like lighter or like in between these two shades, but that's like a little complaint because furthermore, I'm very much happy with the entire palette. Same goes for this one. This is more of the neutral version. Love this shade here that flips to it like a green. Yeah, it's a little bit more like usable, user-friendly. That's why this is the way I rank them, but ask me tomorrow and it could be different. Yeah. Oh, the other one, by the way, was Not So Nice. That's the title of this one. You can no longer get them because they were like a limited edition Christmas thingy. I just looked at my pants and they're like totally stained. I'm kind of like always spilling stuff. Okay, so let's talk about this palette. This is the Cosmic Brushes Delicious Delight palette. This was on a chopping block, and then I used it and I was like, why did I put this on a chopping block? I like the way it's laid out, that you have kind of your rose. I like that it can still make sort of a neutral look with it. This shade calls my name so much. So pretty. I used a green look. No, I didn't use a green look. I did a green look. Yeah. I think it's just a very good palette. I like the Cosmic Brushes formula a lot. I think the palettes also aren't too big for the amount of shades they have in there. So yeah, keeping this, happy to have this in its ranking in this spot because it's actually just really, really, really good. Why not higher? I have more curated color stories up higher, but like from this point on, I like everything a lot, and it could have like been ranked differently if you had asked me a different time of the month. But let's get into the next one, which is this Sugar palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. Okay, I kind of have a love-hate relationship thing going on with this one because I used literally all the shades. It is a little bit of a powdery palette, let's be honest, but I don't mind as long as I know, because then I'll do my makeup before doing the rest of my face. But I used every single shade in here, I think. And then I was like, ugh. Well, it took me quite some time to get the look I wanted. And I was like, okay, well, fine. And then it stayed on for like over 12 hours looking gorgeous. Like it was almost like it got better with time. So this might not have been like my favorite when I used it initially, but during the day it was like, okay, okay, Anastasia Beverly Hills, you did something there. So, yeah, I had to rank it pretty high because it was just like a very successful look. But initially I was like, what is this? So that tells you how makeup can change like your opinion about some palette or like other kind of makeup can change very quickly, just on how it performs and how you like it and how easily it is to make looks with it and stuff like that. And then we have a very, very old one. This just looks like, this is the Zoe Cocoa blend, and I have to say, whenever I see this color story like on in my camera, I'm like, this literally looks like 2014 in a color story. I don't know why I think that, and it probably wasn't out in 2014. I think maybe 2018? Was that the year that this came out? It's hella old. But the thing with this one is, every time I try to declutter this, I put it on a chopping block, and then I realize that this is just one of the best basic palettes there is. Like, if I don't want to like shine away, but I want my look to be good and I don't have time to fool around, I just want a good staple look, I can reach for this and it will be good every single time. There's like no doubt. And there's not going to be any patchiness, there's not going to be any crazy fallout. It's just like a good staple palette. Is it super special? Like, are the metallics out of this world? No, but do I reach for this from time to time? Yes, and every time I do so, I'm very content with what I get. So that's why this had to rank insanely high, to be honest. Okay, last five. We have the MUA Andromeda Skies. I have no clue what that is, but can we talk about MUA for a second? I mean, MUA has like the most reflective metallics at the drugstore, and nobody talks about them. But look at this. Like, I want to swatch this. I'm not gonna swatch anything else, but I need to show you this because people are not taking this serious at all. This is one swatch. Look at how reflective that is. And it has beautiful color payoff. Like, I don't know why we're not talking about this. Look at this. Ooh. But okay. Um sorry. This is the Ender Made Skies palette. I like the mattes that we have. I like the shimmers that we have. It gave me a very, very smoky look. The only thing I'm missing here is a inner corner highlight, but I don't mind missing that because I will always have my my face highlighter with me everywhere I go. Well, if I take my makeup to do my makeup on the go. So I don't mind not having that in a palette because I can just use the one I use on my face. Would I have liked a lighter matte in here? I don't think so. I mean, I like the way they chose the shades. It still goes from light to dark, and so I'm actually very content with the way this palette is. Yeah, I think it's very good, and I think we do not talk about MUA enough. It is quite emollient, like not crazy emollient, but it is a little bit more, like it's slightly less emollient, I think, than the Adept formula. So it is still quite emollient in the sense that if you have very like oily lids, it might crease on you, but it's not crazy. Then we have the Soul Moan from Odin's Eye. I got this and it was like, I don't know. And then I used it and I was like, yeah, I do know. This is great. This is more of like a rainbow-esque palette. I have a lot of those, so I was like kind of doubting. And then I used the top row and was like, but the top row, the shades aren't my favorites. And now I used this. I did use this row. And yeah, that was just great. I really enjoy the top two rows of this palette, and so much so that I don't see myself decluttering this. I see myself reaching for this quite a bit more. And the Odin's Eye formula is just good. I know what I'm gonna get. I'm very happy whenever I use it, and I'm building a tower of terror behind me because this pile might fall any minute, and then I don't know how all my palettes are going to be, but let's keep going. Okay, we have the Rose Chorus by Huda Beauty. You'll see this one more time later in this video. You're like, Zoe, but we're at number 3. I know. This is a very good palette. I really like the shades in here. It looks very light, but if you use this, there is enough like of a gradient. I wish these shades would look better on me than they do. But every time I do use this, I get very happy. The packaging is just beautiful. The shades are beautiful. The formulas are beautiful. I think this is much better than the Icy palette that they released. Not formula-wise, I don't know that because I don't have it, but I don't know what they were doing with that palette. This is very beautiful. It really represents like a rose quartz without being too one-toned or boring or whatever. So this is at number 3. And then we have this one. The Glamlight Friday the 13th Friday the 13th palette. I don't know. Let's skip over it. And I was like very much on the verge of decluttering this. But then I used it and made like the most beautiful teal look with it. And I'm like, this ain't going anywhere. So keeping this for sure. This is what the packaging looks like. Crazy. And then last but not least, you guys. This month I got like this is not a thing, I think, in other countries. But like where I live, I can actually get a registered, like I can register that my partner is my partner. So it's like marriage, but then without like a party in the official word marriage, but it's like a marriage. So we're now together on paper and I have his name and all of that. So there is a slight difference, but it's like very minimal. The only real difference is that you can still get married and throw a party whenever you want to, but you can do that anyways. But I used 4 palettes. I don't normally do that, but I used 4 palettes. So let's those 4 together are at number 1 because I loved the look I created with it. But I'm gonna show you what 4 palettes I used, so I'm gonna try and remember what shades I used from every palette. So let's start with the Adept palette. I know exactly what shade I used from this because it was this inner corner shade. Mock? Mock? Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think. And I don't think I used any of the other shades. And then from the Sultry palette, I used the mattes. I know I used Twig. I might have used Slate, and I definitely used Cinder. Oh, you can't even see. And then I used some mattes from Rose Quartz as well. And I think this shade called Blissful. This is terrible. I can't even remember what shades I used. But I know for sure I also used the mattes from this palette. Whatever. I used these four together and they were great. They made a beautiful look, a look that stayed on all day. I was super happy. It was like a cool toned grayish, neutral-ish, beautiful look. And that was my number one spot. And I'm very happy that it was because otherwise it meant a random other day. Like a random other eyeshadow look had beaten the one that I wore on a very important day. So that was my January ranking. I hope you liked it. If you want to see a shorter version or like more in-depth version, or you want to see anything on any of these palettes, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, all of that stuff, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!